Hello and welcome back to Game Vortex, whatever the channel's name is. This is Matrix Resurections Spoiler review. Now, I've given a lot of time to people. The movie is out already. I'm pretty sure it's out mostly everywhere. If you haven't watched it, don't watch this video, please. I've actually went to see the movie yesterday one more time, just to see if I can pick up anything else that I didn't so far. So this is gonna be a whole fucking spoiler cast, like straight away. So let's start. After I watched the movie second time, I actually liked it even less than I did the first time. By the way, I have a can of beer here. I'm already parked next to my house, so don't worry about that. Okay, let's start. My thoughts from the first movie that I couldn't tell you before. The Matrix starts with what I thought was a little bit obscene scenes of like those flashbacks that you've seen in the trailers. This is the beginning of the movie, basically. That's what it is. I don't even know how they could possibly do that. Like, I hated that part because I don't even know how to explain it. Keanu Reeves or Neo, like he's Mr. Anderson, he's sitting down at his computer, he's got all those statues of like sentinels and everything next to him, and he's like a game developer at the big game company, which I guess right now would be suitable, but everything that came out of that was like, are you really putting it into my face? And you kind of having a laugh about it. So everything that happened in Matrix 1, 2, and 3, they kind of just giggle and shit about it all the time. And he's a game developer. He created a game called The Matrix, and the Matrix game is so realistic, and everything you see in that game is the movie 1, 2, and 3, which for me was like, why are you fucking doing that? I'm sorry for the words, but why are you doing that? Like, the movies were so serious, and you make them look right now like they were like, just something to go about, you know, like, oh, okay, it's a game or something. So Neo is constantly questioning himself, like, is this real or is it not? And every time he has, like, he's taking blue pills, and every time he's got one of those mental breakdowns, everything seems to like snap back into place. He's going to see his therapist, who will later find out is the new architect of the Matrix, the Patrick Needles, you know, the guy that plays the guy with the blue glasses. He is the new architect of the Matrix. This is not the Matrix that you've seen before in the previous movies. This is the Matrix that has been uploaded version, whatever it is, 5 or I don't remember what they called it. After he, well, you've seen after he died in the third Matrix. So he is living there, and the main premise there is basically that he is developing a game. What he thinks is this psychosis going on and all those memories that he remembers. He thinks that it's just some kind of a, like, you know, nonsense going on in his head, and it's very popular, obviously. And there are places where they're sitting and brainstorming the whole Matrix. Is like, yeah, do you remember what happened in part 1? Do you remember what happened in part 2? Let's put that in. Let's put that in. We need some more cliches. How about the bullet time and this and that? Like, I was watching, I was like, what the hell is going on? I don't like that, because you literally took the Matrix 1, 2, and 3, okay, let's forget about 2 and 3, 1, and just made it into a complete bullshit at that point. And obviously, you know, he starts to question the things. He talks to his therapist, the architect of the Matrix, and yeah, like that's the whole thing goes on. And then there's this big scene when the things start happening, like where like it's sort of like a recreation of Matrix 1. Morpheus is actually, like, I forgot to mention that was in the very beginning. They have this loop that is going on that is playing out like Matrix 1's beginning, but the character is different. The Trinity is not the same Trinity there, but it's kind of happening, but always something is changing a little bit. But we only see one loop. They say there has been many more. So they stay up, and then they go into, like, there's 3 agents. One of them is the guy who plays the Morpheus. He is an agent. And then he realizes that he's sort of like, you know, awoken, like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done this and this and that. So he ended up in this, like, a key maker situation after the you know, you'll see what I mean later on, basically. And his old apartment, and that's when Morpheus is like, oh, I had a bigger purpose and blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff going on. And then, okay, what happens next? We go on to getting Morpheus out. Somehow they can make well, yeah, technically he's a machine. They have a system where you can get the agents or whatever, whoever it is, even if it's not a human, out of the Matrix. He also takes the pill and everything goes silly willy and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And then after that, you know, we go back to Neo when he starts to realize that something is really wrong with this whole like game thing and whatever is going on. So what kind of got me a little bit is like they kind of make it shot for shot Matrix 1, but at the same time not mocking it, but just not really doing a really good job of like continuing the legacy and preserving the legacy of the Matrix 1 and 2 and 3. So yeah, basically after that's done, you know, everything is said and done, they go on and we have this scene when they actually find him. Like Morpheus is basically an AI or like a program that can both live outside of Matrix and inside, but outside it can only live in this is like, it's some kind of like a shape-shifting mechanical thing that, you know, can take physical appearance, but obviously not being a human, right? So he exists in both worlds basically. And yeah, this is the time when Neo starts to wake up, and we go through that whole process, and it kind of repeats itself as in Matrix 1. First time, this big shootout happening in his office, and they give him they offer him a red pill, and he's like, nah, this wasn't a game, this was just a test, blah blah blah, all this stuff. In the end, like, he doesn't take it, so he goes off, and then this guy who plays the next Agent Smith, he kind of gets into that situation. He's also triggered, same as Neo. Flashbacks happening, he picks up the gun and he's like, Mr. Anderson, and he starts fucking shooting at him. That's basically how it goes down there, and then boom, everything kind of goes back to normal. He's back at his psychiatrist, as we say. But in the end, yeah, he basically, through that train in Tokyo that you've seen, he gets out. Same kind of recreation, he wakes up, he sees himself, same thing as in Matrix 1, with the only difference is that they are completely separated from all the other people. And there's him and Trinity on the other side, where he doesn't know at that time that it's her for sure. He just wanted to make sure, because he meets her inside that Matrix and there's a connection between them. And from there, this is my favorite part, is when they go to Ion. I think it's called the new city, it's not Zion or Ion. And they basically, it's like, this is the city that was created after Neo died, and there was a peace between the machines. I don't know if there's some kind of a code passed by between them or something, but some machines became good on the side of the people. So they started living in harmony. They created this city that is actually not underground, but outside. They created this artificial barrier that, you know, projects the sky and everything else. They grow vegetables, fruits in there, everybody living harmoniously. And then obviously when Neo shows up there, shit goes down, but nothing like that special. You see some old characters. She explained what happened to Zion, which is basically like people didn't want to accept the machines. They basically all died at the end, and you have a statue of Morpheus there and everything else. So that's all there. And you see Niobe, I think it was her name. It's like she's very old. You also see that girl that was in Matrix 2 when Neo was stuck in this train station. She grew up. She's the new Oracle basically. And yeah, so what happens in that time, they explain everything that happened in the past, and that it's 60 years have passed. People were so crazy, they like worship him, they're looking for him all the time because they think that he's not really dead. Then you see later on other things, and then obviously they imprison him for a short time, like literally 2 minutes. And then what happens after that is that they go and try to save Trinity, right? So they go and try to save the, and this elaborate thing starts to happen with the Oracle. The new Oracle explains how it must be done, and it must be her choice to unplug from the Matrix. But it's so convenient, so convenient. Like, they explain everything. There's no guessing left there. Whereas in Matrix 1 and 2 and 3, you have guessing. Here, no guessing at all. Like, they just literally tell you as it's gonna happen. So they go back in the Matrix, then you meet Agent Smith, well, the guy that plays Agent Smith. They have a fight, nothing on the same level of fight that we've seen before in the Matrix 2 with the Agent Smith. And then obviously they go along their planet, kind of fast forwards very quickly. Obviously this scene with the architect in the building is like, okay, if Trinity accepts her fate, then it's fine, but he knows that she won't, and she kind of does in the beginning, but in the end, when they start to strangle Neo, they were like, okay, she's like, oh shit, okay, don't call me this name, like I'm Trinity and blah blah blah, and she should, you know, the usual stuff that usually happens in the happy ending movies. So basically the explanation is that I still don't quite understand, is the Trinity the one and he had the powers because he was close to her, or both of them are the one and the closer they are together, the more power they have? So that's the explanation. And the explanation about the Matrix, new version of Matrix, is that the closer they are together, the more love and stuff they pour, of course, into this, the more electricity the people produce. So this new architect is so proud of themselves, like, oh mom, I'm doing way better than anyone else. And then they start to check Trinity out, obviously, that the scene you've seen of somebody jumping into Trinity's port, that was actually Morpheus or whatever his recollection of his body, like from AI to this thing is. And that's the things for me started to fall apart. Like, this is the last segment of the movie that we go to. And let me just crack open this one, please. This is where the things start to go to the way I didn't like them. Big time. Part 1, didn't like. Part 2, loved it. Part 3, this one, really bad. I think, is that Neo is like, I don't know if he's far away from Trinity, obviously, and at some point, the bullet time is getting used against him, and they're like, the architect is trying to explain him while the bullet is flying to Trinity's head. Slowly is like what he's up to, what's been going on, how he brought them back to life, how much did it cost them to rebuild their brain and everything else. They actually show you those parts and how they try to get together again while they were like just somewhere in the sewage area, and which was okay. You know, they also have flashbacks to the old ones, the old Matrix. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, geez, like, how far we're gonna get into this. So as we go along, we learn that basically when they are together, they are like have the biggest power ever. You know, the power of love. I would assume that's what it is. And I just watched this last part, and like, yeah, there's a lot of action, but like, apart from the fight with Agent Smith, which was pretty nice, very like 50, 60 years old guys fighting style compared to the Matrix 2. Then you get to this point where it's like Keanu Reeves is like, yeah, he's got some powers, but he can't fly. He tries, it doesn't work because he's probably too far away from the Trinity, and like, they didn't look right to me. And then we get to this point when she's like, oh yeah, I remember who I am, and blah blah blah, and they touch hands, and all of a sudden they are so like powerful, and she doesn't really know how to do anything at that point. And the only thing that the Neo does is all constantly stopping bullets. Like, there's scenes and scenes and scenes and scenes of that all throughout the ending of the movie, of him just like blocking the bullets, driving on a motorbike, and they're trying to escape this, like, what they call, I don't remember what it's called, it was a protocol when everybody, literally, like, people turn into fucking like death machines, and it's dropping out of the windows and into the ground as they're driving on a motorbike, trying to bombardment with like human bodies that just dissolve as they fall down. And then this last part of the movie that comes in that it really upset me is like, they're on the rooftop where you've seen the trailer, right? They're touching hands, my dream ended here and all that stuff. But it didn't end there, obviously. is that when they jump off the building, like, Neo tries to fly, but it doesn't fucking work, obviously. But then Trinity is like, whoop, I'm holding you. Does that mean she's the one? Or both of them are the one? I don't know. And from there, it was just completely derailed. For me, it was her, like, you know, saving him basically from all those helicopter things. And after that, we go, again, a couple of scenes back and forth. And then at the end, she was like, they go back to meet the architect, and they have a chit chat with them both. And like, Keanu is just standing there while she's just beating him up, and she's like smashing his face, and you can see like half of his jaw is missing as she just like round kicked him. And she's, you know, it's like, oh, come on, like, let's not go this way. Like, you just literally undid the first movie and the whole point of it. So, and then they all, like, you remember in Matrix 1, Neo flies out and everybody was pissed off about it. But at the end of this one, they are fucking holding hands and just flying and spinning around. I still don't quite understand if she is the one and she's just carrying him along, or both of them are the one. But yeah, for me, it was that was a letdown. That was a big letdown. Like, I watched it the second time, I was like, God, like, it's not that bad. But like, what I'm trying to say is that Matrix 1 released right now wouldn't work. Everybody would bash it. Oh, too much manpower, blah blah blah. And then at the same time, this movie wouldn't work back when the Matrix 1 was released. So, I don't know. I just don't like the road that they took to get that movie done. I don't like it. I don't. Like, I watched it the second time and I hated it, actually. Not that it's that bad. I mean, everybody compares to, like, is it better than Matrix Revolution and stuff? It depends how you look at the movie. I like the complexity of the Matrix. I like the questions and the theories that were there for us to explore and try to, you know, even years later we're still talking about it. It's like, what if, and did this happen this way? This is all like, we're holding your hand, we're guiding you through, you see the familiar characters. First part is complete nonsense. We're just mocking the first couple of movies and just use those flashbacks to get you excited. Then second part is pretty great, and then the third part is like, well, it sets up another, I don't know, maybe a trilogy. Both of them kicking ass, or just Trinity kicking ass. I don't know. Those theories that you were talking about before Trinity becomes the one, technically that's correct. I'm still not 100% sure if that is the case. Both of them are the one, or like together they are the one. But then, what does that say about the first movie? It's just, I knew that's gonna happen. I knew that's gonna happen, and I didn't want to tell you in the first video because I just wanted you to go and watch it by yourself and just make your own conclusions. I already made my conclusions even in that video. I just didn't want to tell you because that would have been like a big spoiler review. I just don't want to do it. But God almighty, Jesus, like, it's, I don't know, Matrix 1 is still the best movie for me. Literally the best movie for me. The best. And like, I've watched it actually. Just before going to rewatch that movie, I watched Matrix 1, 2 and 3 again. I actually watched Matrix 1 with my daughter, who is like 9 years old, and she liked it. It was phenomenal. Everything there is just so precise and intelligent and great. And then this movie is kind of, it like, most of the likes that I got from this movie, not on YouTube, but like, I like that movie, is because I've missed those characters. I really wanted to see them, and when I saw them, it's like this nostalgia feeling is like, damn, they're back. But then by the end I was like, God, like, don't go into that direction. But they did. They did. So, I mean, some people commented and saying like, okay, the Matrix 2 and 3 was too complicated. Yeah, but that's what makes the movies great. I'm not saying it were great movies, but the complications and those mind fucks and whatever we call them, this is what keeps us guessing what really happened. What is this theory? What is that theory? In this movie, it's just plain simple. It's like, You're all dumb. We're gonna explain everything to you. There might be 1 or 2 questions left, but they were minor questions. And I don't even know, like with the Morpheus, they kind of mock the character. Like, yeah, they recreated that scene when they're fighting and stuff. The guy is drinking martinis and then suddenly he just throws a glass and I'm like, there's my kung fu shit, and whoop, 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 and here we go, let's fight. And I was like, seriously? The guy that played Agent Smith was actually quite good. I actually enjoyed his performance. But other than that, I don't know. Was it worth the wait? No. Not 20 years for sure. Is it worth seeing? Yes. But be prepared for what you're about to see. I mean, if you, up until this point, you still haven't watched the movie, you've made a big mistake. But I would still recommend you to go and just see it for yourself. There's visual spectacles, there's a cool special effects. There's a lot of things there that you could actually enjoy. But that's like one of those popcorn flicks where you just go and like... I'm actually more excited to see Spider-Man right now. Like, literally so much more excited. Like, there are friends of mine, like, I've seen somebody's like 9 out of 10. I was like, no way. No way. That's 9 out of 10. Parts of it might be 9 out of 10. But the whole movie, no. It's not even clearing close to 8. So yeah, this is my spoiler review. Coming from the car again. And with a can of beer, I'm home. So yeah, I mean, just watch it. I mean, like, the least you can do, like, okay, if you're really such a big fanatic of Matrix 1, I am, and I took the shot for all of you, then probably don't. Just ignore that movie. But if you really miss the characters, go and see it. Because that's the least you can do after 20 years. Or close to 20 years. Right? So, yeah, just watch it. That's all I have to say, I guess. This is my spoiler review. And, yeah, I've watched it twice. The second time's worse than the first one. I mean, the intro was giving me goosebumps, you know, the Matrix, and then upside down Resurrection. It was great, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish they left it at that. I think if they never made this movie, it would have been okay. Unless they tried to go the same path as they did with the first movie, which they didn't. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Like, subscribe. I understand this is not like high production company. I do have a decent 4K camera at home and the set and everything, but I don't know. I feel more connected to people when I'm talking like this. The camera is for other things that I do. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment below if you watched the video. If not, just go and see it. And then let me know how you feel. Thank you and goodbye. Cheers.